Keeping with our genetics theme, we need to talk about something called linked genes. Linked genes. Linked genes are genes that are on the same chromosome. Now, before we get too far here, we should probably review. We said that you get one copy of each gene from your parent. That copy is passed on a chromosome. Well, if each chromosome only had one gene on it, that would mean you only have 23 genes. And if you think for just a second about all the traits you have, physical characteristics you have, there are far more than 23. In fact, the general idea now is anywhere from 10 to 30,000 genes, which would mean about 1,000 per chromosome. Obviously, the bigger chromosomes have more genes, the smaller chromosomes have less. So, linked genes are genes that are on the same chromosome. That means that if your parent has a recessive copy of a gene up here, and a dominant copy of a gene right there, and a dominant copy of a gene right there, and a dominant copy of a gene right there, they will pass all those dominant and recessive genes on to you together. That if this is your dad and he has dominant, recessive, that's exactly what you're going to get from him. So he's going to give you this whole chromosome. He's not giving you parts of chromosomes. He's giving you the whole thing. So there's a special kind of gene called a sex-linked or X-linked gene. These are genes that are on the X chromosome. They're a special kind of gene because, maybe you can think of it. I'll give you a chance to think of it here a minute. You can pause this and maybe write it down. Males only get one X chromosome. So, for example, here's the X chromosome and the genes that we knew that were on it. Here's a Y chromosome. Look how much shorter the Y chromosome is than the X chromosome. Y chromosome actually contains different genes. So if you're a male and you get an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, because the Y chromosome has different genes, whatever's on the X, you're only getting one copy of it. Whatever's on the X, you're only getting one copy of it. Whereas a female gets two copies of the same gene. Male only gets one. It's a really important idea because it changes up some things genetically. So, diseases that are X-linked tend to skip generations and occur mostly in males. And maybe you're wondering, why mostly in males? I don't get it. If a male only gets one copy of a chromosome and females get two, isn't there a greater chance the female is going to get it? And the answer is no. Because remember that in order for a female to get a disease, it's recessive. So let's say the disease is this one, muscular dystrophy, and it's recessive. So in order to have muscular dystrophy, you would have to be little d, little d. Well, a female would have to have two little d's. That means her dad would have to give her that, and her mom would have to give her that. Whereas a male only needs one. And so a female has one. You can do the math and figure out a female needs two copies of this to be it, because remember, if a female has a big D and a little d, she's normal. Male only gets one. I think this will help you understand. I'm going to do this practice problem on here, and I encourage you to copy it down. Hemophilia is a sex-linked recessive disease. A man with hemophilia is married to a homozygous normal woman. What fraction of their children could have hemophilia why does it skip a generation? Well, let me show you how to do this. Step 1, write down the parent's genotype. Man with hemophilia. Now we're going to start by writing X and Y. We do that when we know we're talking about a disease that's sex-linked or X-linked. Man has it. Let's say that big H is normal and little h equals hemophilia. I'm just going to abbreviate this hemo. Abbreviated hemo. Man has the disease. It means on his X chromosome, we write it with this little dash in the H, on his X chromosome he has the recessive gene. The woman he's crossed with, a woman, she has 2 X's because if she didn't, she'd be a guy and then they'd have problems having kids. She's homozygous, which means she has the same normal. So she has a big H. I'm just going to write this on each of her chromosomes. Each of her X chromosomes carry a capital H. So we have the parents' genotypes written down. We draw the Punnett square. Put the man over here. X with a little h attached, and Y. Female goes here. X with a big H attached, X with a big H attached. Fill in the Punnett square as normal. I always put the one with the capital letter first. And so if you take a look at this Punnett square, now we have to answer the question. The question is, what fraction of their children could have hemophilia? If you look at this Punnett square, you'll see that this is going to be a girl, normal. Normal, girl. Normal boy, normal boy. The chance that their kids could have hemophilia is 0. 0. None of their kids will have hemophilia. However, look what happens if their daughter gets married. Either one. And they could marry a normal guy. They won't marry their brother, hopefully, but they marry a normal guy whose genotype looks like this. They could give their son or daughter either this or that. There's a 50% chance. So it's entirely possible that this girl could have a boy with hemophilia. Entirely possible. That's why it, quote, skips a generation. I'm going to erase the ink and then look at a pedigree of the same thing, and we'll talk about it. Okay, what we have here is called a pedigree chart. Slide this out of the way a minute. Here's a man. Here's our man with hemophilia. Here's our woman who's normal. Draw the line down. Here are their kids. Here are who their kids married. Now, because these are not filled in, all these people, all the blanks, normal, 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 they're all normal. They have a normal phenotype. But look what happens. These two had 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and the boy has it. What must have happened? Well, his dad is normal. His dad gave him the Y chromosome. His mom is normal, but she must be what we call a carrier. She gave him that. That's sex-linked or X-linked inheritance, and a brief discussion of pedigrees, which we're going to do a little bit later.